This week on the Jock and Nerd podcast, we review the first season of HBO's The Last of Us. Plus, Oscars reactions, John Bernthal returning as the Punisher, Bob Iger not sure the MCU needs sequels, Michael B. Jordan creating a Creed universe on Amazon, The Mandalorian, and more. All in this edition of the Jock and Nerd Weekly for Tuesday, March 14th, 2023.
Oh, hi, I didn't hear you come in. This is Ross Marquand from The Walking Dead, and you're listening to the Jock and Nerd podcast. Now, if somebody could please explain to me what a geek boner is, my life would be complete. Until then, rock on, nation.
Check. Check one. All right. This is for all you fans out there. Let's give it up. Jock it, we nerd it. We funny, disturb it. We jock it, we nerd it. We spoiler alert. Oh yeah.
Hey, what's up, listener? Hello, and welcome to the Jock and Nerd podcast, where we give you comic book and superhero TV and movie news, reviews, and whatever we choose. Jock and Nerd. My name is Imran.
My name's Anthony.
He's the Jock.
And he's the nerd.
And joining us is my felty brother from another mother. It's Rug Boy. What's up, Rugs?
What's up, motherfuckers?
How's everybody feeling? I had an alternate line for that. I was going to go, it was either that one or my felty brother from another rubber, but I wasn't sure what that meant. That's kind of weird.
Wait a minute.
Usually your intros have a little bit more teeth than that, so I don't know.
Oh, you know what? The teeth come and go sometimes. It all depends on where the moon is these days.
So I'm trying to analyze this. So I'm a brother from another rubber, meaning that what exactly happened?
Right.
Whoever fathered us was banging both of our moms at the same time. Is that
Yeah, that sounds like a TV show that's on Bravo or something. Yeah.
okay? We're cousins.
Yeah, it's like a Maury Povich episode. It's fine.
Yeah.
My felty brother from another mother. All right, big week, big show planned. Got a lot to discuss. Let's get into it.
The Jock and Nerd podcast.
We got to do Oscars talk. Oscars recap. We just had the 95th annual Academy Awards held this past weekend. And it was fun. It was a fun 3.5 hour long fucking broadcast.
Okay.
Viewership was pretty good this year. 18.7 million people tuning in.
Oh, shit.
Which is up from last year, about 12%, and it's at a 3-year high. But also, this is the lowest viewers they've had all time in the Oscars. It's like yes.
How does that make sense?
It's the highest since it's 12% over last year, 18.7. But the Oscar numbers for the last few years are amongst the lowest viewed Oscars. It made me think about what is the highest Oscars. I had to look it up. Turns out, way back, 1973, 85 million people tuned in to the fucking Oscars. I think The Godfather won Best Picture that year.
Oh, wow.
But
Still, 18.7 million is not a shabby number.
That is something. Almost 20 million people watching something. Also, back then, there was only like 3 channels. There was nothing to watch.
It was like people, like old people watching.
Yeah.
And,
But just for reference, Super Bowl, what do we got?
Super Bowl was like 15 million, maybe?
Not 15. Get the fuck out of here.
Look it up.
No.
15 million was the next chef.
I knew he would be wrong.
15 million was the show that premiered after the Super Bowl. The Next Level Chef
Super
or
Bowl
whatever.
2023 had a total number of viewers of 113 million.
Oh, 113. Holy shit.
Come on, Imran.
That's a lot more. That's a lot more. That is obviously, I think the Super Bowl is the top 3 highest viewed things are Super Bowls.
Yeah,
So,
that just puts it into perspective of Oscars versus Super Bowl.
sure. And then when we get to
So the Jocks win again.
Yeah. And then we'll compare the numbers to The Last of Us season finale, which has decent numbers, but again, nothing compared to this. Anyways, did you guys catch any of the Oscars live? Did you watch?
I did.
You did?
I watched a little.
Yeah.
I'm not. We got Rug Boy Polanski here, so
Yes.
he's more in tune this year with the Oscar people and people of that ilk more so than I am. So
Yeah.
Regs, what do you think of Jimmy Kimmel and the show overall? I thought it was very safe.
Yeah,
show.
it wasn't like there wasn't any. I mean, he did take some swipes at people, and he did make some jokes about people that were kind of like a little bit like woo. But overall, it wasn't like so crazy that it was like the slap. You
Nobody
know,
got
like
slapped. Nobody got smacked.
where it was like there, no one was talking about anything that happened after the Oscars. Other than, to me, the biggest thing that happened was that lady wore the giant headdress.
So that was hilarious. That was Thames.
Yeah,
The
whatever.
musical artist
whatever.
Thames. Did you see her in the audience, Anthony? She had a big white. I felt bad for whoever was sitting behind her. In fact, all the
She wore
people
like
sitting
a
behind her.
veil, like a giant veil.
It was like
that
a
was
wreath.
just like
It was like a white wreath around her head.
it's the huge asshole move.
Nobody-
And she wanted publicity and she got it.
Don't sit
but
behind
now
Thames.
everyone thinks you're a douche. So
I mean, I thought it was a fun show. They decided to show all 23 categories again, which is why it was kind of 3.5 hours. What did you think, Anthony, overall of the program?
Overall, I thought it was all right. I mean, the big story, other than the ratings, I think the ratings we can attribute to more popular movies, but I think the big story, obviously, is the fact that Everything Everywhere All at Once dominated, 7 awards. My question to you guys, since I haven't seen it, is one, out of what you've seen this year, did it deserve it? And two, when you saw it happen, because you guys were both talking about it, maybe Imran more so.
Yeah.
Did you think at the time when you saw it that it was going to be an Oscar movie?
Well, wait, let's break down the numbers real quick. Because yes, Everything Everywhere won 7 out of its 11 nominations, which is wild. This includes Best Picture, I think Best Screenplay. Michelle Yeoh wins, Ke Huy Quan wins, Jamie Lee Curtis wins, Best Director. It's the most won by a Best Picture winner in 14 years. You have to go back to 2008 and Slumdog Millionaire that won 8 movies that night. And here's
8 awards.
8 awards. Sorry, 8 won. Slumdog won 8. This one 7. Here's a crazy stat: it is the only film in the 95 years to have won 7 above the line Oscars, and only the third in Oscar history to win 3 acting awards after Streetcar Named Desire and Network. I mean, I think absolutely well deserved.
Thoughts?
Well deserved awards.
And did you think when you saw it that it was going to be this kind of movie, where it would be the Oscar movie?
That's kind of surprising because it is a quirky, weird A24, like kind of cleaning up also.
I think it definitely stands out because of the editing and the directing and the script are all kind of just wacky and like not something that you're used to seeing. And I mean, the movie's a wacky movie. There's no bearing on reality or science or anything. It's just kind of like a movie that needs to do what it does to tell the story. And I don't think it's brilliant in that term. I think it's brilliant in that it took a lot of like risks and tried to do a lot of things. Like at one point, there's they turn into rocks and they're just talking on a bluff, and they had the balls to do that. So like it was like a ballsy movie. I don't know if if I would have had it win all of those things. Maybe I would have would have been screenplay for me and editing and maybe direction, but I don't know about Best Picture. I don't know about all these acting awards. I don't know if that merits it either. There were so many crazy acting things that I saw that were just kind of incredible. Like, in my opinion, like just like Colin Farrell being the Penguin was more impressive than most of the acting and Everything Everywhere All at Once. But like, that's just my personal opinion. Like, I thought that just as far as that, and I've seen other performances that were just as crazy in other movies. So I don't know. I think that I would say half of the stuff that they got was probably deserved, but the other stuff was like maybe reaching a little far. But I'm glad that they won, because I'm glad that that's the kind of like message through for the Oscars, that like, like something like this could happen, like a miracle like this could happen. Miracle movie could come out of nowhere and win. So I did enjoy that. I don't know. It's a movie I like. It's not like I don't like the movie. I like it a lot.
It's the originality, the creativity.
It's just a wacky ass movie.
It's so trippy. It is fucking wacky. It's right up my alley. Kind of like Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, kind of trippy and mind bendy. But man, I'm glad Ke Huy Quan won Data Short Round. That's great for him. And Michelle Yeoh becomes the first Asian woman to win an Oscar. I did feel Angela Bassett got
Best Actress Oscar because there are
Yes.
Asian women that won.
For the best actress.
Supporting
Yes,
actress,
that
in that category.
best
yeah.
actress, first Asian woman. Supporting, Jamie Lee Curtis wins over Angela Bassett. I was kind
I
of
don't think that should have been a win there.
I think
but
that's a snub there a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know if Angela Bassett is the winner either,
Yeah.
to be honest with you.
What else did we
Because
have here?
she was barely in Black Panther, and she did Marvel acting. I don't think it was Oscar acting. I don't know. I don't know
It was
if there's.
powerful though. Who? So the others were Hong Chow from The Whale, Kerry Condon from Banshees of Inisherin, and Stephanie Sue from Everything Everywhere All at Once. Everything at 2. Who would you have given it to instead?
Who's the
Angela
nominees?
Bassett, Hong Chow from The Whale, Kerry Condon, Banshees, Jamie Lee Curtis, and Stephanie Sue, both from Everything Everywhere.
I think Stephanie Sue had a bigger part, I think, than a lot of.
That is true. And she was
yeah.
singing with David Byrne in the musical performance.
Yeah, but it's a tough one. I mean, I'd probably maybe would give it to Angela Bassett now that I think about the size of the parts.
Yeah.
Because Kerry Condon or whatever her name is in Banshees was very good too. I didn't see The Whale, but I could imagine that was I think that was the nurse that had to deal with the whale.
Okay.
Right?
Yes. I think she was like the
And she was in also that the Menu.
Oh, she was in the menu. She was the assistant.
Yeah, and she was great in that
Yeah,
too.
she was great
So I
in
can
that.
imagine that she was just as good as in that one as well. So I don't know. I think that's a roll of the dice on that one. I don't think there's a clear person that would have won that. So that's a tougher one.
Couple other notable things. Ruth Carter wins again for Best Costume Design for Black Panther Wakanda Forever, making her the first black woman to win 2 Oscars. That's pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, well, they did a great
The
job.
costumes are amazing. Yes.
Sure.
Those costumes are always amazing. Avatar picks up Best Visual Effects.
As it should.
That's all I got. RRR wins Best Song. Yeah.
They performed it.
Yes. Did you guys, what did you think of the performances? I wanted to talk about Natu. That was a great number.
It's good. I mean, they tried to bring out what the movie did. The movie is obviously so much more epic, but they tried as
Oh my God, the
much as they could.
scene of the movie with that song is amazing, but they tried to bring it to the stage. The Gaga going stripped down. This is a woman who used to wear a meat dress and makeup, and I loved her stripped down take on that Top Gun song.
Right.
No makeup at all.
Yeah. She
sounds a little bit like The Edge of Glory, but
It
okay.
does. I thought she did a good job. And then Rihanna doing the Black Panther song was pretty amazing.
I think I missed that part.
Which led me to come up to the realization that Rihanna's unborn baby now has performed at the Super Bowl and the Oscars. Can you imagine that baby when it grows up? I could just watch this and be like, yeah, look, there I am. In my mom's belly, right there. 18 million people watch this. They watch.
That never crossed my mind, but that's a good point.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, that's odd. You don't get very much video of yourself in the belly.
Whatever
let
that
alone
kid's name
there.
is, the most famous embryo of all
It
time.
is the most famous womb baby. What do you think, Anthony, of the musical stuff?
I didn't see too much.
Okay.
I saw that. I saw Lady Gaga, and I was confused at it because I didn't recognize it was her.
Right.
I saw the Natu one, and I thought it was interesting that they had all these different races out there. I haven't seen the movie.
Yeah, no, it's all Indian people in the movie. There's some white people, but they're the English. But in the movie, yes, they're all.
Were they singing in Telugu?
Yeah, it was. I think it was like Hindi or Telugu. Like I don't know what that.
Come on, don't you understand all that stuff?
Because Natu means dance, and in Urdu it's like nacho. So it's similar. So it's
Nacho Libre.
Nacho Libre.
Yeah, no,
Nacho
that's a
Mama.
different movie.
Yeah,
Free nachos, yes.
free my nachos.
Yeah. Well, no, yeah, I thought it was good. I think overall, too, just for the Oscars, again, I haven't seen Everything Everywhere All at Once. Probably will watch it at some
Shit,
point,
it's great.
especially since it's won.
I love it.
think it's nice to see, from what I've gathered, that in the last couple of years, what defined an Oscar movie isn't really. It's kind of changing.
Yeah,
3 years ago you had Parasite, which is a foreign film. Last year you had Coda, which is a sign language like about deaf people film, and then that one's a little more Oscar-y, but then this one is definitely not Oscar-y if you had compared it to a lot of other stuff. So it's nice to see them picking stuff that is a little bit outside the box. I think Everything Everywhere All at Once had the momentum, though. If you look at all the awards this year, it was winning everything.
That's why they picked up all of them. It just people got swept up. I mean, seeing him, K. Kwan, hug Harrison Ford was also great. Like, 40 years apart.
I want an Oscar.
Yeah, I mean, and Jamie Lee Curtis's speech was also good, where she's like, "We won an Oscar." He was emotional. Brendan Fraser, good for Brendan Fraser, finally winning an Oscar. This dude started in Encino Man and shit
with Kiki Kwan.
Yeah, they were both in that movie.
Yeah,
and now he's a Oscar winner. Oh, your boy Guillermo del Toro takes home the best animated movie.
Pinocchio. Yeah,
I gotta
as
watch
it should.
that. I still haven't watched that. And Banshees and Tar get fuck all. They walk away with nothing, even though they had tons of nominations.
Yeah, I thought both were great films. I finished Tar.
Yeah.
And I feel like that they were both really well directed, masterfully assembled movies. But we've seen kind of stuff like that before. I don't know if we've seen stuff like Banshees of Inisherin, but before quite the way they did it. But they were kind of more conventional, just a little bit more conventional. I mean, Everything Everywhere All at Once is really unconventional. Why do you think so many people tuned in? I think, is it because they added Top Gun and Avatar and all that other shit that are kind of like Everything Everywhere All at Once, like had a big theater presence? Maybe is that why people tuned in? Do you think?
I think all of that. I think also maybe the slap. Maybe people were like, "Oh, what crazy shit's going to happen this year?"
That's definitely part of it.
Right. So you have big movies. You have Elvis too. You don't forget. So $200
Elvis got
$300
nothing
million
either. I got snubbed.
movie. So you have those three plus Everything Everywhere, $100 million movie, and then you have the slap. And I think it was just a good combination of movies this year where they picked a lot. They picked stuff, a mix of art house, things you've seen, big blockbuster, Oscar-y type movies, Netflix movies, streaming movies. So it was a good mix. War movie with All Quiet on the Western Front.
I mean, they have these movies that kind of have like these rabid fans, right? Like Everything Everywhere All at Once has a ton of fans and support. RRRR, Top Gun Maverick was heralded. So
they did a really good job. If they're looking to like pick movies that you could turn and be like, maybe that'd be Best Picture. Like I think they picked a really good crop of movies this year.
It was well-rounded.
Just as far as the mix, yeah, well-rounded.
It was weird that Tom Cruise wasn't there. I don't think he ever is going to go out in public at a thing anymore because I think he's too weird now. I don't know. The man, I mean, Jimmy Kimmel made a joke. Like, the man who brought everybody back to the theater refused to come to the theater. Like, why wasn't he there?
He was just interviewed by, I think, Jimmy Kimmel on his show or something.
Oh, really?
So, what I found out is that Tom Cruise is a horrible interview.
Yeah, I don't think
because he's very straightforward.
Yeah,
and he doesn't like really have like this gregarious personality. He's just very kind of like direct and to the point, and he's sincere and everything. But he's not like a personality. He's
a robot. I don't know.
Yeah.
on the ratings front, just to reference, in 2020, before COVID, they had 23 million, and then the next year they had a low of 10.
Yeah,
2021, 2022. 16.6, and then this year 18.7. So it's actually trending back up.
Almost back to pre-COVID. Yeah, that 2021 one was that was the one held in Union Station. That was not good. Everybody had masks on. Remember, they were sitting at tables.
No one liked that one.
And then
that was a complete disaster too, because they actually ended it that year. That was the year I was into the
with the in memoriam bit, right? Or the
no, they ended it with instead of doing Best Picture to end the show, they did Best Actor because they thought it would be Chadwick Boseman's crowning moment as he dies, and it was actually Sir Anthony Hopkins that wins the award, and he's not even in attendance.
And he wasn't there. That's great. That one was a debacle. Yeah.
I think another thing that they did that's different is right now that there's like kind of this trend of like not wanting to hear celebrities like fucking like make speeches that are like political and shit. And that was toned down a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, you could see that there wasn't like, that wasn't the focus. It's like, enjoy the moment. We want to celebrate with you that you won and you guys did a great job creating this art. And, I just remember that moment a long time ago when the MTV Movie Awards when Fiona Apple won and she made that speech and she like completely killed the moment of that fun time.
Yeah.
And that's what like, and she wasn't even being political. She was just talking about like how fucking fake everything is. But like, it's like you do that. That's not the place to do it because now you just piss on everyone's party right there. So, I I'm glad they didn't do that much. It wasn't like this thing that was intrusive. We got certain vibes, certain things were said, and that's all fine. Like, it's just when it's overly done and it's just like, hey man, I'm trying to have fun. Like, why celebrating you guys win these awards? Like, and I think they kept it to that level where it was actually fun and uplifting, and it seemed like a very positive experience. So I want to say that because I did notice that was a little different. The tone
felt like a celebration. I thought Kimmel did a good job keeping it light, and the jokes were good. The other movie that I was really glad in the beginning was winning a lot was All Quiet on the Western Front. I think it wins 4 awards. It's a fucking great war movie. If you haven't seen it,
but
it's so good.
Everyone who's seen it has told me that should be the best picture.
It is Saving Private Ryan good. It's entirely in German, and it's amazing.
I've heard really good things.
I mean, it sticks with you.
I gotta make Babylon and that are now able to watch on streaming, so I gotta get a chance to watch those.
The Whale is on Hulu. A lot of these movies are now everywhere.
The Whale. I didn't know The Whale was a Darren Aronofsky film until like very recently.
Aronofsky's awesome,
so I gotta check that out.
So he was they were getting some shit for The Whale winning best makeup. From the large community saying, well, why don't you just fucking hire a fat actor or whatever? But I didn't know that was like digital prosthetics. Some of that, it looks amazing. The effect.
It's acting.
It is. It's acting. Exactly. But man, what they did to Brendan Fraser from the clips they showed, I was like, that fucking looks, I don't know how they did that. It looks so real. So we get there.
Whatever. It's acting, whatever.
So good stuff. Good year in movies. Good celebration. Listener, let us know what you think. Join this conversation. You could join our Facebook group. It's called Jock and Nerd Nation. There's a link in the show description. It is a closed, exclusive group just for you, just for us. Join it. All right, let's move on to some geeky MCU news. Guys, get excited.
Geek boner.
John Bernthal is back as the Punisher, baby.
Oh, nice.
Pretty much.
Not Frank Grillo? God damn it.
Well, Frank Grillo would have been a great pick, but he's almost 60, that Frank Grillo.
Yeah, I know. I'm just kidding.
He is returning. He will be in Daredevil Born Again, joining Charlie Cox, Vincent D'Onofrio for the 18-episode season, which I think started shooting recently. Is this?
Oh, I think it's shooting, yeah.
What do you guys think? Are you excited for him to return? He is a great Punisher.
I like him as Punisher. I think that I am very curious to see how they handle such a character in the Marvel Universe. Are they going to go more superhero-y? Are they going to go a little bit wacky with the Punisher?
Does he wear the skull even? This is a Disney thing. This is a Disney Plus show. Does he wear the skull?
I don't know, like if they're going to pussy out on that because
I bet
because a lot of people are co-opting that skull for nefarious purposes or whatever, or purposes that are not that savory, and they should take it back. They shouldn't waver. They shouldn't be like, oh no, like let's redefine what the skull means and let's fucking take it back ownership. Don't let other people fucking co-opt your fucking symbology and shit. Like, and that's what they're doing. Like, oh, we're not going to use it anymore. If they don't, then that's weird. I think they should definitely use it, and they should embrace it.
The new one from the comics with the horns and like the long teeth. You've seen that one?
Whatever. Like, why? You don't need to do that. Make a different skull. Just make the skull a little different. Like, that's all. You don't have to do it. Just don't do the ones that they're using. Do like a different. There's plenty of skulls you can use that are different that would be just as visually like. There's a million ways around it. That's all I'm saying.
Anthony, does he wear the skull? And does this mean they know each other, or will they not have met? How does this work?
Does he wear the skull? I don't know. I hope he does, but I agree with Ruggs. Don't let a small segment of society take something from you that you created and turn it into something else. Like, you own that. But anyways, as far as him on the show, I'm also curious. I hope this is a sign in the right direction that they're going to make this show. I'm not asking for Netflix type show, right? I don't know that you can. I don't know that you want to do that, right? Because you want to make this its own little thing. So I'm not asking for Netflix level violence, but I don't want She-Hulk either, right? I want something closer to what these characters are, and I'm hoping that by casting Jon Bernthal as a Punisher, that they're leaning more towards the seriousness of what this kind of character is. Yeah, and I am curious to see what they do as far as, because they made Daredevil definitely a lot more superhero-y in his appearance in She-Hulk than he ever was in his own show.
Yeah.
With how he was flipping around and stuff and jumping off buildings. So definitely curious about that. As far as do they know each other, I think the way Marvel's going to handle it is probably some sort of, it's like if you did watch those shows, you will watch this and you'll know that they kind of know each other and they don't need to explain it type thing.
Well, the three of them have history, don't they? So is any of that
They were in each other's show.
Yeah, and Fisk too, right? And they've all fought each other.
But I think they're just going to run with like the fact that there's all this history in the past between them, and they won't really point to anything specific. But again, if you've watched the Netflix stuff, you'll be like, okay, I can point to that. And if you didn't watch the Netflix stuff, you'll just be like, oh, they've known each other. They've had history.
I'm glad they're bringing him back. I think he's great. He's a great Punisher, great actor. They have recast Vanessa Fisk, and there is probably doubt that Karen Page and Foggy those people. I don't think, even though it's called Born Again, you need a Karen Page, so they're probably going to recast the Karen Page. But if you bring back these three, solid.
I think it's going to be Born Again in name. And they might take some stuff, but like season 3 of Daredevil was somewhat Born Again too.
Yeah, yes, they already kind of did it. Is the thing.
Right.
We're gonna get a new Elektra probably too.
Oh yeah, there's Elektra situation. Oh, that'll be. I hope
you can't do Daredevil without Elektra, right?
No,
so
you can't. You got to do the Frank Miller stuff. You got to make it look good. And this might tie.
Do you think it's going to be closer to the comics or completely on? Like the show that we watch on Netflix is going to be the better show. What do you think?
In the comics, in Born Again, Karen Page is a heroin addict that he has to save, right? Will they show us that on Disney Plus? I'm thinking of only like Falcon and the Winter Soldier having that kind of heavy tone that this show needs, and if they're gonna have to make it darker. I don't know.
The Netflix stuff was really, legitimately, especially season 1 and then even season 3 was legitimately like really good television, great stuff.
Yeah.
So that's a high bar. I don't know if they can hit that bar. I don't think they're going to hit that bar. But as long as it's good and not, again, She-Hulk, as long as it's not something that meanders and is the type of stuff we've been seeing from Netflix, Disney Plus. As long as it's not that, where you kind of just watch it. I think the biggest thing about the Disney Plus shows is you watch it and then you forget that it even happened like a month later. Like that's the biggest thing is most of those shows are just okay, which is fine, but like there's nothing, they don't have anything that's hitting other than when they first had WandaVision come out and maybe Loki. Like everything else since then has just been okay. And then you just kind of the only other thing that really resonated was She-Hulk because it just pissed everyone off.
Well, it's crazy because like at this point in time, we have such huge budgets on these shows now, like with all these streaming wars and like Amazon making the most expensive show of all time. And people know what to expect. We just watched The Last of Us and that had a huge budget and it looked great. And, so these Marvel shows have not been that memorable. They've spent money on it, but like it doesn't ever rise to the level of being memorable. And they need to do something about that. I don't know what it is. Maybe scaling back and quality control and like really like putting the money and making the money work for it.
That is the perfect segue to my next point.
I was going to say, he set that up for you.
He teed that up perfectly, Ruggs, because I wanted to talk about these comments Disney CEO Bob Iger made at this Morgan Stanley conference, talking about Disney, talking about Marvel. He said a couple of interesting things regarding the number of movies coming out. He said, quote, sequels typically work well for us. Then he goes, do you need a third and a fourth, for instance, or is it time to turn to other characters?
That's weak sauce.
All right. That's interesting that he's like, because you got what? You got 3 Ant-Man movies. You got 4 Thor movies. And here, this is interesting. And this guy, like, I think he's very straightforward. He just says what's on his mind. He says, quote, "There's nothing in any way inherently off in terms of the Marvel brand." I don't know about that. He goes, "I think we just have to look at what characters and stories we're mining, and you look at the trajectory of Marvel over the next 5 years, you'll see a lot of newness. We are going to turn back to the Avengers franchise, but with a whole different set of Avengers." That I find interesting. I think we knew this, kind of, but...
Yeah, dude, this doesn't sound like anything we didn't already know.
No, but he is saying, like, nobody is returning. There's, and right now, there's no, like, anchor character, really, in the MCU like we had for many years.
Well, we knew that they were going to set up a new Avengers with all, like, Kate Bishop and all these other, we knew this, right? Didn't we know this? We knew this.
We knew this.
I saw something on the internet, and I agreed with it, and I think... among the many problems with Phase 4, I think one of the big things is what made you really enjoy those first 3 phases when they were introducing new characters is that they wrote in the heart of these characters.
Yeah.
Like, you really fell in love with Iron Man and with Tony and with Steve as Captain America, and you liked Thor, and you fell in love with Star-Lord and Black Panther. And right now, like, amongst all the new characters they've introduced, there's no one that really has that kind of love yet. They've kind of forgotten the fact that you really got to give these characters something to latch on. Like, people, you got to give something for these people really latch on. Like, the only characters I like are, like, I personally like Shang-Chi, I like Miss Marvel, but I don't love them the way I loved Steve in Avengers, Captain America, the first Avenger. I don't love them as much as I like Tony in the first Iron Man, right?
Yeah.
No, so there's no one, as you mentioned, there's no one anchoring it right now that makes you go, I really want to see them again.
These new characters had potential, and I think part of the problem was it was too much too soon. You didn't get a chance to sit and grow with them. It was okay. Here's another thing. What's funny is Marvel seems to be making the same mistake they made in the comics when they were introducing all these characters. They're doing it again. It was a little bit too much at once. So
sounds like they're pulling back, though.
Yes, Bob Iger said they're going to concentrate on quality and not quantity, which is something you want to hear. That's always good. As far as
I had a lot to say about Star Wars.
As far as Star Wars, it's still a big mess. He talks about how they used to make saga films. He says we made 2 so-called standalones in Rogue One and Solo. Rogue One did well. Solo was a little disappointing. It gave us pause to just think maybe the cadence was a little too aggressive. We decided to pull back a bit. We are still developing Star Wars films. We are going to make sure that when we make one, that's the right one. So we're being very careful there. So I think, like, Patty Jenkins' film has been shelved.
Oh, yeah. This is typical, though. I mean, his comments notwithstanding, this is typical Kathleen Kennedy run, because Patty Jenkins had a movie in the pipeline. That's not going to happen anymore. Yeah. Kevin Feige was supposed to do something. Apparently, that's not going to happen anymore.
That's shelved, yeah.
And we don't know when or what Taika Waititi's thing is. The Game of Thrones guys, that's not happening anymore. So this is classic Kathleen Kennedy Star Wars, where they assign big names to movies and projects, and then they don't happen.
And then nothing happens. Yeah, so it's wild. So Star Wars Celebration is coming up in April. They have to have an announcement of what the fuck they're doing with their movies. This is crazy. Like, they need Star Wars in the theaters back, but I don't know what you do. There's hints.
I don't think you need to go stampeding back to Star Wars on screen. You don't.
No.
I think you can let it breathe for a little bit. Let the shows do what they do, because I feel like, okay, we got The Mandalorian and we got Andor, and those are nice little bookends.
Sure.
And we got Ahsoka Tano coming out, and I think that let that kind of like breathe a little bit, and then maybe they can do they're like, hey, let's do the fucking Mandalorian story, let's do like the whole like the Tar Vizsla story, let's do that,
that
everybody
cool.
likes Mandalore. So like they might build all this kind of like anticipation for maybe a Tar Vizsla as like a whole other saga, and they can do that. But they had like this alkalite shit that they were going to do. I don't know if they're still doing it.
Did you hear about that? There's a lawsuit. Like, this lady got signed on as a producer, and she lost this other gig, and then they like you said, Kathleen Kennedy, somebody let her go just like 2 weeks later, and now she's suing them for millions of dollars because she lost out on shit. So it's just a mess over there. I don't know. The TV does work great, and you're right, Ruggs. I think that's a great idea.
Because right now they don't know. There's no direction that's clear to like what story to tell.
Yeah,
and they're kind of like, they did the Boba Fett thing. We're over Boba Fett now. Where Mandalorian is a much better character, I guess, more interesting and whatever. So he can. I think that maybe Ahsoka Tano can bring another end to it with the Jedi shit. So I think that those made 2 or 3 shows, and Andor obviously is giving you the story of the beginning of the thing. All we need to do is go back further to the Old Republic, which we haven't done yet. And maybe the inception of the Jedis and everything like that. Like, tell the story of like how this kind of religion got started and all that stuff. That would probably be a good, where I think maybe that's where the Alkalite was. I'm not sure if that's what that exactly was doing, but it was definitely an Old Republic, like old back before all the Star Wars shit. So that's like another end of the universe we haven't really gone to. So like there's things that they could do, but like they shouldn't be in a rush. They should wait for like they should be able to see the interest of what's people are like kind of clamoring for and give the fans what they want.
all Baby Yoda all the time. That's what's going to happen.
I feel like if this Ahsoka Tano show is good,
Yeah.
that will, because like there's an opportunity there to do a lot of Jedi shit. You could talk about the past, you could talk about the future, you could talk about Luke, you could talk about all that stuff, and maybe see what people are into. Because like right now you're watching Mandalorian, right? I'm into this whole like Mandalorian planet, like what happened, and the mystery, and what this fucking monster is, and all this other shit.
Yeah, well, that second episode is great. We'll talk about that later. But
let's see what happens. There's no reason to rush.
you just got to get past the Skywalkers. Also, how long is Kathleen Kennedy going to have that job? Right, at some point.
I heard that she was leaving.
I thought she was like winding it up. I mean, she's going to want to leave at some point, and maybe things get better then.
I think that she's waiting to get one more, like, go out on a high note
Big
type thing.
Interesting. All right, we'll see what happens with Star Wars. Speaking of multiverses, we're going to end with this. Michael B. Jordan wants to create a shared MCU-type verse called the Creed verse. In fact, it's in the works at Amazon. And this, apparently, he's talking about animated TV shows, live-action TV shows, a spin-off focusing on Adonis Creed's daughter, Amara. We reviewed the movie, Creed 3, last week. Great fucking boxing film. Is this, what do you guys think? Is he milking this too much, or do we want to see an anime Creed show? Sounds kind of interesting, maybe.
Anything is possible.
Yeah.
But
go ahead.
Anything is possible. So
Like
I'm not going to say
style.
no. But it's not the first thing I would do.
Yeah. I love the Rocky movies. I love the Creed movies. I mentioned this last week. I was gonna say the same thing as Ruggs, except not exactly the way you said it, but I completely agree. Like it could be good.
Yeah.
Like anything's possible. With the right ideas and the right production and acting and whatever, it could be good. I don't think it's a great idea. I don't know that there's a much to do in terms of like a whole Creed where you're doing TV show anime stuff, and I see that they're potentially going to do a Drago movie, which might be fine.
You still got Victor Drago and Dolph Lundgren can be in it.
But I don't know that this is a whole. I don't know that there's all of this
I feel like
stuff
it's
you do
too
at the same
soon.
time. Yeah.
Like even though they've had 3 movies, it doesn't feel like enough. Like I think there's enough to really Creed verse, like spin off Drago. I mean, young Drago, is that and the daughter, and
apparently a spin-off Drago movie, and then I guess some sort of live action TV show with something or an
anime series, which is weird. I mean, I think the Creed 3 kind of finally does set it up to be its own Creed universe thing moving forward. But yeah, I thought this was interesting that now he's getting all excited to expand this so quickly.
You'd think, okay, so the Rocky flagship universe, that's it. It's self-contained. It doesn't need spin-offs, does it? I mean, and Creed is the first spin-off. So now you're talking about a spin-off of a spin-off.
Yeah.
So that just automatically just makes me pause. Like,
it's also tough to. It's kind of a wonder. It's a wonder that they did Creed and it's been working successful. But I just don't see like how many boxing movies you can make or boxing stories you can make. I mean, the whole appeal of the Rocky movies and to some extent the Creed movies was just kind of this underdog story all the time.
Yeah, how many times can you do that?
How many times can you do that?
I'm really
eight or nine movies. What is it now?
I can't think of like what else you could do aside from what we already said. His daughter growing up being a boxer, and maybe he finds...
And like, how unlikely is it? Like, it's already pretty unlikely that Rocky becomes a champion, and then Creed becomes a champion, and then like, do these stories have the same weight if that the daughter or Drago doesn't become a champion? And then it's like, geez, everyone that knows Rocky in some way or shape or form became a champion. Yeah, like that's very unlikely to become a champion.
Yeah, it's a champion story, but
and I love this. Yeah. I love Rocky. I love Creed. I don't know.
Has there ever been like a spin-off of a spin-off of a spin-off?
I mean,
right, that's what they're going with.
Maybe on TV sitcoms, but not.
I mean, was
really.
it like it's Happy Days and Laverne and Shirley?
Mork and Mindy also spun off.
Wasn't
Happy Days?
From Happy Days, yeah.
The what's the
we had Buffy and Angel, and then that was it. The Angel
living in the apartment in the sky.
Oh, the Jeffersons spun off from Archie Bunker. Yes.
But then did anything spin off the Jeffersons?
No.
Well, but Archie Bunker had like Archie's
his own
Place.
Spin-off.
Yes.
Yeah.
All Family Matters is a spinoff of Perfect Strangers, but then we didn't get an Urkel show. Just the 10 of us spinoff from Growing Pains. Oh, I could go on and on about the spinoffs.
Yeah, you're the.
I could tell
TV
you
show
all
guy.
the fucking spinoffs, but we'll see. We'll see how much you can.
But
milk.
what about movie spinoffs?
Movie spinoffs is different. I mean, you think of like a James Bond didn't really spawn a spinoff of anything. If anything, that would have. John Wick is trying to spin off with this ballerina thing.
So you got
Fast and the
Godzilla.
Furious. That's a couple spinoffs.
Yeah, Hobbs and Shaw.
Hobbs and Shaw. Well, actually, that movie with the Asian people was a spinoff,
right.
Or like a tangential film.
Right.
Tokyo Drift.
Right.
No, not that one. It was fuck. The one where saying Hung.
Yeah, it's the unofficial Fast and Furious movie.
No, that's not unofficial. It's in a movie. The Fast. Yeah, I'm gonna look it up real quick. Fast.
One of the movies that's
The Fast and just mildly angry.
It was Better Luck Tomorrow.
Oh, Better Luck
Tomorrow
was a 2002 crime drama, and then that was actually part of the Fast and Furious. That's where Sang Kung Han was in.
Oh, yeah. I always talk about that film. I didn't know that was part of the Fast and Furious. Oh, yeah, we did talk about that one.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Well,
They retroactively connected it to Fast and Furious.
what are spin-offs technically? Because this list considers Deadpool a spin-off, kind of X-Men Origins Wolverine.
Well, yeah, but the superhero stuff is like its own thing. Because you could technically everything's a spin-off, especially Marvel. Spin-off is a spin-off.
Like Punisher is a spin-off of Spider-Man, isn't he? Isn't he like? Well, but that's what they do. They introduce characters, and then they just do their own.
First introduced in the pages of Spider-Man, yeah, and then
I think you got to eliminate comics because comics inherently are spin-offs of spin-offs of spin-offs.
They're designed to do that,
right.
Yeah.
But what original franchise or movie?
I mean, things like Minions come to mind, or the Lego movies, Logan, Rogue One. Is that a spin-off or a prequel?
Is there Alien spin-off? Or no,
I mean, AVP would kind of be a spin-off. No,
not like in this sense. I don't think there is. The point being, I don't think there are very many, if any.
The point being, I'm so dizzy talking about spin-offs. That we're done. We'll see how Creed can expand.
If you spin fast enough, I read that if you spin fast enough, you lose your teeth.
Oh, really? They come flying out?
Yeah.
If you scream shit ass at someone, your teeth come flying out.
Yes.
out of the car.
Try that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Anyways, we're gonna take a break here. All right, we're gonna play some promos and come back and talk about the best show on HBO, Last of Us season finale. Right after this.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Was A Quiet Place inspired by Signs It Comes at Night and War for the Planet of the Apes? Was Ready Player One influenced by Avatar, Wreck-It Ralph, and The Last Starfighter? Is the Hurricane Heist more influenced by Sharknado or Geostorm? These are the kinds of questions my guest co-hosts and I discuss on my podcast, Piecing It Together. Every week, we look at a new movie and try to figure out what other movies inspired it. Whether it's the story, the character development, tone, or even use of music. Every movie was influenced by something that came before it, and we want to figure out what. Check out Piecing It Together on your favorite podcast app or check us out on piecingpod.com. You can also follow us on social media at piecingpod. Piecing It Together is a part of the All Points West podcast network.
I'm Imran.
And I'm Sophia.
I'm the brother.
And I'm the sister. And we are watching a show about cousins.
We're your hosts for Dance of Joy, a Perfect Strangers rewatch podcast.
We grew up watching the 80s hit sitcom, and now we'd like you to join us every week as we rediscover our love for our favorite TV cousins, Balky and Larry.
You can find our show at danceofjoypod.com and on all major podcast platforms. Now we are so happy, Sophia. We do the Dance of Joy.
Imran, this is a podcast. They can't see us.
Oh, po.
And nerd.
Listener, if you have been enjoying the show, if you enjoy the show, if we bring you some sense of hilarity, you can give back to all this supposed entertainment by joining our awesome Patreon fan club. Visit jockandnerd.com/Patreon.
Jock and Nerd.
There is a link in the show description. It'll get you there. It's a way to support the show on a monthly or annual basis, and everybody gets stuff like access to an exclusive podcast feed where the shows come out early. There's bonus content, instant reactions. You get Discord benefits. We have a monthly Discord hangout just for our Patreon members. This month, it's Thursday, March 23rd. That'll be next week. Put it in your calendar.
Oh,
Shit.
8 p.m. Central Time, Thursday, March 23rd. And also a tier where you can pick any movie for us to watch and review. Whatever you want us to watch, we'll do it. Lots of fun stuff. jockandnerd.com/Patreon. Okay, let's get to the review. The Last of Us Season 1, the amazing video game adaptation, HBO Max. Season 1 is wrapped. Season finale is aired. We are going to discuss all of it. Here are your spoiler alerts.
Strap yourselves in, you fucks. Spoiler time.
Let's start again with viewer numbers. So we've established Oscars, 18 million viewers. Super Bowl, 115 million viewers. Last of Us for HBO, pretty respectable. The season 1 finale grabs 8.2 million viewers.
Wow.
during the Oscars.
It went up against the Oscars, and I want to ask about that. The first episode started with 4.7 million viewers, so they almost doubled their viewership through first. That's amazing. And I was wondering how people were going to attack this Oscars Last of Us. I ended up watching the Oscars first, fast forwarding through some shit, and then watching Last of Us. What order did you guys do?
I watched it live, and then as soon as it came on, I popped over to that, watch it, and then watched the rest of the Oscars.
Okay, yeah.
I did the same.
That's a good way
Watched
to do
a bit
it.
of the Oscars
Right.
when it came on. I
Like, I'm watching this.
went over to Last of Us.
Yeah, so solid numbers, and I think overall the season may have even beat total numbers, beating House of Dragon numbers. I saw somewhere. I'm not sure, but amazing job, by the cast, the creators, Craig Mazin, Neil Druckmann, who wrote the game, Craig Mazin making Chernobyl. Of course, fantastic performances by Pedro Pascal, Bella Ramsey, Nick Offerman. We talked about the first episode when the show aired, so how do you want to do this? You want to go through kind of highlights of episodes 2 through 8, and then we talk about the finale?
Maybe you do instead of highlight, just and don't do your typical narrate everything, but just take us through every episode.
Let's just talk about
to tell us what happened real quick.
Yeah. Episode.
You recap.
Okay, look, episode 2. Now again, there's I will highlight the moments where the game does the show gives you something different than the game. Episode 2, one of those great moments where you learn about the Jakarta outbreak of the cordyceps, gets into the flower. And then the show ends with Tessa's sacrifice, plays out a little bit different. And right away, people you get introduced to, and people die. They established on this show. Anything else about season 2 that you guys remembered? Episode 2. Sorry, good episode.
No, it was good. It was that had like a lot of the biggest sense of action. I think there's like that one, and there's another episode that was really
that was the only time they used the whole thing where the infected are joined by the roots. So if you touch one thing, they wake up.
Yeah.
I wish they did that more. They only did that one.
They never went back to that.
Never went back to that. It was amazing.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the most disturbing thing was the cordyceps kiss that Tess shares with one of the
with the little things coming out. Yes, and how she couldn't light the lighter. That was amazing. Like the Zippo, it just kept not lighting. I was like, oh my God, fucking light. And then the whole thing goes boom. Good episode. Moving on to episode 3. This one of the biggest differences from the game, called Long, Long Time, dealing with Bill and Frank.
Very different, yeah. Very
different. Bill played by Nick Offerman and Frank played by, I forget who played Frank. He was also very good. A love story post-pandemic. You spend 20 years with this couple in the matter of an hour. Reminded me of the beginning of Up. Very well done. And largely, one episode Ellie and Joel are not featured in. They're just bookended.
Right.
And also, Bill follows you for a portion of the game. Here, they don't even get to reunite. Any other comments about Bill and Frank?
Well, I would have not done that episode.
Really?
Not because the Bill and Frank story was whatever, but I feel like at that point I would have liked to have known we had just lost Tess. That would have been the perfect flashback episode to kind of solidify all the shit that they had to do. And we miss out on that whole part of the story to kind of get ancillary characters.
They show you some of that in episode 3. There's a flashback with Tess, meeting Bill and Frank.
Yeah, but then it cuts away, and then it's a different thing. But again,
a second time, I'm like, this show makes you fall in love with characters, and then it kills them, and it does this over and over again. It does it very well.
Right.
Yeah, I thought that was one of the more emotional episodes. Definitely unexpected. I think they were what they were trying to go for, and I think succeeded. Is just sort of like everyone's got to find this is kind of a parallel to Joel, where Ted is it Ted?
Frank.
You got to find a reason to keep going, right?
Yep, exactly, right. And he was just as pessimistic as Joel and found a reason to keep going.
The whole series emotional in different ways, and surprisingly, it does the thing where there wasn't a lot of infected, but a lot of human monsters. And I just love throughout the season. I was like, you are more scared when they just run into random people because you can't fucking trust anybody. They get that across very well. Episode 4 occurs in Kansas City. They got to take a detour. There's the ambush. The truck crashes into the store. Ellie saves Joel for the first time with that kill. And we got introduced to Kathleen, a new character that's not in the game. Another big change. And she's talking about Henry and Sam. And at the very end, you see they get caught by Henry and Sam. We don't know them yet, but this episode is pretty good too. It had some good action.
Yeah, the zombies appear, the bloater. This one might have been actually the more
No, that's the next one.
Is that the next one?
Yeah, this is where we see the hole in the building.
It ends with Henry and Sam.
Yeah,
gotcha.
And she's like, you know what? Just keep that door shut. That's fine. Don't tell anybody that the floor is caving in. So then, what I think probably one of the best episodes here, episode 5, Endure and Survive. Henry and Sam help Joel and Ellie kind of escape the city through the tunnels. They changed the story a little bit. Sam is deaf in this one. He's not deaf in the game. And then you have the whole scene from the game where he has to run at the building, snipe people, but Kathleen finds them, and then a horde is released, and then we see the bloater. Holy shit. And then that is also where fucking Sam turns as Ellie has made friends with him and tried to kill him. Henry has to kill Sam and kills himself.
Yeah, this one might have been the most.
Holy shit.
Maybe not the most emotional, but like super, like you end on a note where it's just like, fuck, this is awful. And it's just as, if not more impactful in the game. So they capture that pretty well.
Yes. Yeah. They changed a little bit of the characterization, but largely the end turns out the same. Okay. Then we jump to episode 6 called Kin. We jump ahead 3 months. Joel and Ellie have reached the Jackson, Wyoming fort where Tommy is there with his wife, and they reunite. Tommy Also a little bit different in the show than the game. He meets him in a different place. And this is the whole bit where Joel is racked with guilt. Wants to hand off Ellie to Tommy because he thinks he's going to do a better job of protecting her. And then changes his mind and ends up taking her anyways because she calls him out. Great scene right from the game about how everybody has died around her. And we get to see that as the show goes on, how everyone she's known has died from her very beginning, from her birth. And then it ends with the bit in the hospital. They don't find the Fireflies. They get their location, but before they can make it out of there, they are attacked. Joel is stabbed bad. And it kind of ends there. That's a good episode, too. These are all great episodes. Any comments on that one?
Oh, that was, all these episodes are good. I mean, they're not, even the ones I would have done differently are still good episodes. The momentum of the story keeps pushing forward.
Yeah.
There is a lot of time jumps that are a little bit weird.
Yeah.
And you feel like that they get into more scrapes with human beings than the clickers at this point.
They do, yes.
So there needs to be another clicker appearance, and then we get it in the next episode, which is also a flashback.
Well, then we get to episode 7, Left Behind, where the story has been progressing, and all of a sudden, for a whole episode, it stops. We go back. They do the DLC content of Ellie and her friend Riley sneaking off to abandoned mall. Riley has joined the Fireflies. They're having a lot of fun playing video games. There is an infected in there. There is a battle. They're both bit, and this is fucking heartbreaking, where they just both decide to sit there and just let's both die together. And then to think that Ellie had to watch her friend die, and you find out later she had to kill her, put her down, and she doesn't change. Fuck. And this is the whole impetus causing her to stay and take care of Joel, stitch him up. She saves his life. Again, comments on that episode? I thought that was a lovely episode. I mean, I thought it was a great backstory.
They're all good. Yeah.
No, that was a good one too. The only comment is what Ruggs would say is just it stalls the momentum a little bit, but I see why they did it, and it was a well executed episode. Yeah,
I mean, did you have to tell that story? We kind of get it at this point, but like I can't think of like something in the game that would have been better. I don't know. I don't have it.
It was in the game technically. I mean, I like finding out the first time she was bit,
because in the game you're fighting a lot of fucking clickers.
Yeah, I guess there's more.
You're avoiding a lot of. You're always in peril constantly, right?
Yeah.
So they could have done that again and gone with the horror thing.
There's a lot of things they left out, which is interesting. We could talk about.
Yeah. So you could have touched on those things, but whatever. It's like it was still entertaining to watch and well done. So regardless, you're just talking about like momentum. Like Walking Dead did this all the time.
Yeah.
They'd get the story going, and then they'd go on this side tangent for 3 years, and you're like,
yeah,
and they're doing it here, but not as bad as The Walking Dead. They kind of always get back on track in the next episode and take the story another 2 steps. So it's at least they know to not do what Walking Dead does and just kind of stall out. So.
That takes us to episode 8, who Ellie has now stitched up Joel, saving him again. What's funny is around this time, we'll talk about Mandalore season 2, but Pedro Pascal is on 2 of the biggest shows on TV right now, playing a older character, protecting a child, and in the same week, in both episodes, the child saves him on 2 different shows on the same week. I think that's kind of crazy. Anyways, this is the whole bit where you play as Ellie. And you're hunting down deer. You meet the cannibals. She meets this community who don't know that they're cannibals because the psycho dude in charge didn't tell them. A man who has turned to the church post-apocalypse. And then an amazing murder scene by Ellie at the end where she just eviscerates a dude. You can see it in her face. And at this point, these people have murdered so many people. But that largely straight from the game, but they gave more character to David, I think, in the show than you got in the game.
That makes sense.
This was more of a disturbing episode and shows you how dark humanity can get in a time like this. So
yeah, the people are always
mission accomplished.
The people are the monsters, and she's got some great lines on that one. And then finally, that brings us to the finale, episode 9. Look for the light. All right, let's go through this one. This starts again with something they don't show you in the game. and it's kind of a great cast here. We see Ellie's birth, Ellie's mom pregnant, running, finding a house that apparently
played by the lady that voices her.
Played by Ashley Johnson, who played Ellie in the game. And that's fantastic because they look alike. Bella Ramsey,
Yeah, they do.
and
Yeah, they
her
do.
look like they were. I was like, this is amazing casting. So essentially we see that she gives birth to Ellie while being attacked by an infected. It's unclear whether the baby came out first or she was bitten, but she definitely cut the umbilical cord after she was bitten.
That's right. And she lied about it.
And wait, she did lie about it?
Yeah, she said that to her.
Yeah,
To Marlene.
That's right.
And then asked Marlene to shoot her. And, you get the sense that Marlene and Ellie's mom are old friends. And she has to go kill her old friend, meaning Marlene raised Ellie from the very beginning. Like she essentially was her mother. That was these HBO and these birthing scenes that they give us between House of the Dragon and this show. Real fucking babies too. Like that was I think
Yeah.
they were using
That
real
kid did
babies.
some good acting.
That kid did some great acting. So this is where she got antibodies, I guess, right? So she has antibodies when she was born, making her immune.
Yeah.
Couple
Some of that cordyceps got in.
Yeah.
While she still had stem cells, I guess.
right, so it could create.
Yeah, they explain how she got immune.
It could create an immune, and I don't think they actually explain that in the game. I think you're left wondering, like, well, how does this actually work?
Yeah, you don't know.
Yeah, so that's cool. They do a couple of fun things.
They just took the blade origin.
Oh yeah, what is that with the floaty blood?
Well, his mom was
Oh,
pregnant
that's right,
with
and got bit.
blade.
Yes. How does that work?
That's why he's a day walker.
That's
so
right.
She's a
She's
a cordyceps walker.
Oh my god, it's the same thing. It's exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
They do some fun things from the game. So here's what I love when they do throw in these things from the game, but like the boosting of Ellie to go up somewhere and drop a ladder. They do that just this one time, and it's funny. They do the whole giraffes bit.
Yeah, that was in the game.
Yeah, and that's great. It's like a really beautiful moment.
It's a real giraffe, apparently, too.
Was that a real fucking giraffe, too? It wasn't
Yeah.
CGI giraffe? Holy shit.
Yeah.
No, they had it on a green screen, like a environment, and they put the background behind.
Oh, shit. That's great. Couple of things, though, I missed from the game here. The game has a lot of underwater things. They took all of that shit out. I guess it's
Yeah.
been-
Are we doing this now? Or are we
No,
talking about
okay,
the game?
sorry.
Because
Wait.
I can do that if
Okay,
you
no,
want.
wait,
but I'm
never
waiting
mind.
for you to narrate
Never
this
mind.
thing.
Never mind. Okay, so
Okay.
we get the part where Ellie and Joel finally made it to wherever city the hospital is, and he's revealing some more about himself. That
Salt Lake City.
Salt
I
Lake
believe.
City. He reveals that he did try to shoot himself in the head after Sarah died, missed, causing the scratch, and then they get caught by the fireflies, just like in the game. And then we find out that she does have a cure. Ellie, the cure is in her, but the only way to extract the cure is brain surgery, which will kill her. And then Joel proceeds to go fucking postal. He John Wicks the fuck out of everyone. It is amazing. Goes on a murderous rampage. He's like just picking people off like with fucking automatic machine gun. He has made a decision, whether it's the right decision we can talk about, but he's saving Ellie. He shoots the doctor that's about to operate on her, grabs her, gets to the parking garage. Marlene is there. And they do this just like the game, where they don't show you the resolution of the standoff. They cut to Joel in the car with Ellie. She's waking up, and he just lies to her. He tells her that there's apparently lots of infected people, and they're not even looking for a cure anymore.
Lots of immune people.
Lots of immune people, sorry. And they're not looking for a cure. We can go back to Jackson, Wyoming. And then we find out that Joel does indeed fucking murder Marlene, and she tries to stop him. Cold-blooded, fucking shot to the head. And then the last bit, it ends on a great bit where they make it. They can see the camp. They're on the mountain, and she's like, I need you to be honest. Did you tell everything you told me at what happened was true? And he goes, I swear. And she just goes, okay. Cuts to black.
So he lies.
Lies.
That's the way it ends in the game.
That's good. Definitely going to cause problems in the future.
That's right.
That's the way, exactly the way it ends.
Wow, what a fucking heartbreaking ending. Again,
it's an ending that it's heartbreaking. It's like it makes you feel all sorts of different things.
Yeah.
It's such as especially having played the game. Like, I envy those that didn't play the game and got to see it this way. But when you play the game and you get to that ending, it's like,
what?
You don't even know. You know, you're forced to play as Joel and save Ellie and kill all these people, and you're just like, wow, what the fuck am I doing? This is crazy.
He says, it should be her choice to decide, but he doesn't give her the choice either.
Right.
By lying to her, she didn't give him the choice. So, morally gray shit all over the place. I love the abrupt
and she
ending.
probably, it's very heavily implied, and we won't, we're not going to spoil the second season.
I don't know what happens in the second game.
So I know what happens, but it's very heavily implied throughout the game and in the show that she probably would have chosen to sacrifice herself. Like, this was her life's purpose.
Right.
Yeah, and she's not that great. She should have died.
Well,
like, to be honest with you, if I was Joel, I would want to save humanity and find another surrogate kid.
Yeah, he's never cared though about humanity. He just was always looking for something else to live for, and he found something that finally gave him life, and he doesn't want to go through
he's
that.
thinking about the short game right now.
I don't think he gives a shit about the game.
He just wants
the
to be
game
with
never
Ellie.
mattered to him.
Yeah.
He was only doing this because Tess told him to do it.
Right. She was cargo. Remember, he called her cargo.
She was cargo, and it was her last dying
But
wish.
the moments in this episode where you see in his eyes that he really loves Ellie, he wants to take care of her. That whole bit on the roof where he's like, "Look, we can stop. We don't have to do this." And she is insistent. She's like, "No, we got to take this all the way. We came this far."
He's casually talking about his daughter now too. Where in the beginning, she asked him about it. He'd be like, "Don't bring that up. Don't ask her." So like, he's fully he fully thinks of her as a surrogate daughter.
Yeah, I guess I feel like he has that hole. He needs to fill that hole.
Yeah. So
it makes sense, but for some reason, I just don't endear myself to Ellie at all, and so it doesn't work for me. It may work for him, but it doesn't work for me watching it for some reason. I'm like, get her killed. I'm like, let's get a cure. You know what I mean? Like,
clean this shit
I'm
up.
sorry. Yeah, she's not that great. So it's like, that's the only issue I have with the show, where it would have worked a lot better, is like, if you really, really love that character. Yeah. And then some people do.
I do. I like that character.
Well, and, the difference is in the game, you're spending hours with these people. And I think you would connect to them more.
Yeah, if we're gonna jump on that, can I jump on that too?
Yeah, go for it.
So first off, I'm gonna say I really truly enjoyed the show. I thought it was week to week. It's one of the only things I've ever in the past few years where it comes out week to week and I'd watch it the same night. Like, I don't do that with Mandalorian.
Wow,
I'm doing that with a lot of stuff. I was doing this with this. So I think it's overall a really good show, and I'm excited to see season 2. My only gripe with it is, you're right. If you've played the game, it's almost more impactful with the game because you spend hours upon hours playing with them and putting them through all these terrible situations. And I think the one thing that I would say one thing really, it's really one thing. The show really lacked was the zombies, the clickers.
Yeah.
Like, you do a lot of that throughout the game where you're killing clickers and you're hanging upside down, killing clickers, and you're in the last, before you even get to the hospital, you have to kill a bloater in that like rubble between.
Right.
Remember when they were like, "Oh, we could just throw a bomb on and explode that bridge on underpass." Like, they didn't have as many of the clickers, and it almost makes it like you make it so that like by not doing that, not having the clickers, like you lose a lot of the scare. So the show becomes tension, it becomes more of a drama, and less of a drama horror thing, which is what the game masters. Like, this show is more just like all the cutscenes from the game, and less of the action.
Yeah.
Like, the only times they really captured the action of the game was that bell tower scene, and then the first episode where you're in the truck with them. Right?
Yeah.
Everything else wasn't really like gamey.
Only one bloater the whole season. I thought
you only get one bloater. But secondly, too, is by not really having the clickers featured, it's like we're doing this whole thing and we're playing up this big sacrifice that she's going to make, and that like Joel is going to basically fuck things up for the world by saving her, right? And killing everyone in the hospital. But it's like, by not having that many zombies throughout the show, it's like, well, it almost seems like they're okay.
What's
like
the
they don't
threat?
actually need.
Yeah, where's the
what is
threat?
the threat?
Yeah.
If we're not going to feature the zombies prominently throughout the show, then like what is the real? It feels like they have everything kind of already handled, and they don't need to do this. Like her sacrifice makes the game much more impactful because you fucking have had to survive not only people but numerous amounts of zombies and all sorts of terrible situations.
There's a lot more murdering in the game for sure, right?
So not even murdering; it's like murdering people, but also killing zombies, and like they lost their way on that stuff. I think a little bit.
I mean, he didn't use a fucking Molotov cocktail once. I was waiting for that shit. Come on, he's throwing that shit all the time.
But it could have been more action,
Yeah.
and you'd have more action by featuring more zombies.
So that is probably one of the only criticisms I have, and a lot of people have, is the lack of action. Craig Mazin in this article here from Variety addresses it a little bit here, and I kind of see and agree where he's coming from. He says, ultimately, we generally stress the power of relationships and trying to find significance within moments of action. And so there may be less action than some people wanted because we couldn't necessarily find significance for quite a bit of it, or there was concern that it would be repetitive. After all, you're not playing it, you're watching it. And although a lot of people do like to watch gameplay, it needs to be a little more focused and purposeful when we're putting it on TV. So I appreciate the fact that they didn't just shove it in for the sake, because sometimes Walking Dead did that. And they couldn't find a spot for it. But yeah, maybe you could have had a couple more clickers, another bloater.
It just could have made the show, like some of those scenes where you're fighting the clickers and like in dark hallways and shit that I don't think they recreated as much here.
Yeah.
Like that shit is genuinely, like I remember playing the game and be genuinely scared playing those parts. And I think they could have transferred that over. That like a lot of that stuff to me is easily transferable to TV, and you add that in, you add in more action, you add in more scares, and then you bond with these characters more, because then you're like, fuck. Like in the game, you're like, fuck, these guys have been through the ringer.
Yeah.
Like they've been through it together. And like I totally get why Joel would save her, because they've been through it. They've been through everything together.
Oh, he went through all this just to let her die for whatever, right?
And then you find out that like they've been lying and that she had no choice, and that like they were going to kill her this whole time and no one told you.
Right.
And you've developed this bond with her for over 6-7 hours of playing the game or whatever the hell long.
You don't
it
want her
is.
to die, so kind of
just a little impactful.
You kind of feel, you kind of understand Joel's decision when it's crazy.
Yeah, and then also too, now that I'm on the rant, I liked every episode. I think I don't particularly agree with them montage singing like muted sound background with him murdering the entire hospital.
That was interesting. Yes, the sound was out. Yeah.
Because again, in the game you have to it's like the last level.
Yeah.
So it's like hard to do it.
Yeah.
Right?
The set was right on from the game. Like it looked just like that in the game.
Yeah, so it's hard to do, but then secondly, throughout the show they made him like kind of vulnerable. And then in the last episode, he just becomes Terminator.
He's fucking badass. Just murdering folks left and right.
Like he's just walking straight down and taking like people are like taking shots at him, and he's like dodging it.
Oh,
and it's like
got that
one shot killing him.
Yes, it's amazing. He's just like determined.
No, I don't think it's amazing.
No,
I think they could have done that better.
It's only the whole scene doesn't take very long.
I think that could have been a much more tense scene, and instead they block it. They take it out. Go ahead.
They
Russ.
kind of stampede through that.
Yeah,
really
it goes by quick.
That's a huge thing in the game.
Yeah.
Maybe I was a little weary when I turned on the last episode and it was under an hour.
48 minutes.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah,
48 minutes. I'm like, that's the least amount of time any episodes had on this series so far, I think. And I was like, they got a lot to cover.
Yeah, they get through it though. They get to the end, but they did maybe rush.
I think they rushed it a little.
Some parts, but you feel
when you have the game to compare it to, then you're like, oh,
yeah,
okay, you've seen it done, and it pay off a little better. So I feel like the people who play the game and kind of have a different interpretation of what that story is might feel the same way.
Yeah, so, I've heard that from people like my friends that have played the game kind of feel more similar to I do, and then. Again, great show. I think that's great. And then my friends that haven't played the game are like, wow, that great finale. Every episode twists and turn. I didn't expect anything like that to happen.
It's a great story.
So.
And he did a great job converting this story to this other medium and tweaking it for the better, I think. Pedro Pascal's acting in that whole last sequence is fucking amazing. You see it in his eyes. And you don't know who he's going to kill. I mean, he does let the nurses
My
live.
friend was like... a shout out to my friend Erwin. He was like, in an alternate universe, this is Pedro Pascal as Mando.
Yes.
Slaughtering Jedis to save Grogu.
Oh, shit.
In a Star Wars episode, Star Wars finale.
Yeah, a little bit.
No, what if that happens in the
It might happen. They're just going to redo this.
Redo the entire Last of Us
Let's
episode.
do it again.
But
I liked it.
yeah, no, I mean, overall, like, I really don't have a lot of criticism or nitpicks of this show aside from that.
That was all my only one.
Yeah.
Like, if I take the show at face value, it's fine. Like, I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. It was appointment viewing.
Is it the best adaptation of a video game we have been given?
I think it's pretty good.
Yeah, it's up there.
I think it's definitely respectable. Like, I'm always talking about respect the source material, and they did.
They did,
for the most part.
It's the same dude. It's the same dude.
Like,
They brought the same dude, right, to write it.
and the same music and some of the same actors. Like, they really
They layered in, the actors from
it
the
was
game.
pretty close. Yeah.
I mean, they did, like, there's that whole, like, while I was talking about the underwater shit, there's a lot where you got to go swimming and you got to get a platform, like a pallet to float Ellie on and shit. And then something bad happens. I won't spoil it if you played the game, but they cut all that shit out. And I think it's fine. Like, that would have, you didn't really need all that underwater shenanigans. You could have used a couple more bloaters. So I think the changes were good overall.
I think also we've might have learned, and obviously this is the one size fits all, but I think games in general, I think that medium lends itself better to TV shows as long as you have the budget.
Yeah. Well, but
because
gotta,
games are like 9-10 hour experiences, and then you're trying to boil that down to an hour and a half to 2 hour movie. It just that seems very
you
tough.
got to do it right because Halo did that, and
That's
then
true.
they just gave you a whole like different Halo with the same people, and you're like, what? Okay.
Well, they didn't honor the source
They
material,
did
right?
not honor. They didn't do the source material at all.
No,
really.
they did not.
did their own thing.
They made up their own sci-fi show, and they just called it
and
Halo.
called it Halo, and it looked like Halo. That's exactly what they did.
We saw this with Resident Evil too, right?
Yeah.
Like that. Those movies had really nothing to do
Yeah.
with the games. They just were like Mila Jovovich in Resident Evil. That'll sell it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the thing about games is like there's so many of them, and they come out with a new Halo every fucking year, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of stuff that's there. That's a lot of it's filler, repetitive. So you have to like distill it down to a series, something like that. That's long running as Halo. But I think The Last of Us is a perfect game to do it because it's one game.
Yeah.
And the one game is packed with the whole story of that one game. So they could, if they could find other games like The Last of Us that are self-contained in one story, like you could never do a Final Fantasy.
Oh my God.
It's like 1,000 of them.
They tried to make that
You know?
movie too.
Have you guys seen when you were bringing up Last of Us? Have you guys seen the Uncharted movie with Tom
I
Holland?
still have not seen that. It's on Netflix.
I have. Yeah, I have.
It's curious too because like the Uncharted movies I felt like would have lent themselves to an awesome adaptation. And they're both Naughty Dog, right? Like Uncharted and Last of Us. But I don't think you said very nice things about Uncharted, the movie.
It was a dumb movie. It was dumb. Like it doesn't hold a candle to the game.
I mean, the Tomb Raiders had a problem too. That should have been a fucking layup, and they did it twice. And
Like A Thief's End is a great fucking game, and it's cinematic,
It's awesome.
and it's fun to play, and it really does make you feel like you had a great experience, and it was well thought out and fun and everything. This story was so ridiculously kind of ass backwards and stupid that like I enjoyed it, but it didn't feel like the game. It wasn't like when I watched The Last of Us, I was like, okay, they're doing their best to like give you the game experience. You feel like you could play the game and get a little bit more in depth of experience and have a little bit more thrills. But at the end of the day, you got to enjoy the best parts of the game.
Yeah, that's true.
So, with the Uncharted, I felt like it was like a pale imitation.
I mean, I love
Kinda like-
how faithful Last of Us was down to the costumes, the sets, the shots. Like they just nailed replicating this so well.
I think the formula here, besides this TV show, is just have HBO do it.
Have
'Cause HBO
yes.
just gives a fuck more than anyone else about putting out consistently pretty good content
It's cast well
for the most part, right?
yeah.
Like, yeah,
They could only get that to work for the WB.
Yeah, that's never going to happen. But yeah, no,
Which is in the
production,
same
the
fucking
levels of
studio.
money and production and what they expect coming out of HBO is obvious. And And Craig Mazin and HBO are a great team. Speaking of season 2, Craig Mazin has answered some questions about season 2. Spoiler, everybody knows part 2. The game starts 5 years after the end of the first part of the game. He says,
don't spoil anything else because the second game pisses people off.
Really? Oh, I know. I do not know what happens.
I wouldn't recommend spoiling it for yourself.
I'm gonna wait. Yeah. I don't know how long I'll wait, but he said it may take more than 2 seasons. He also said it's gonna be different. It's gonna be just like the season. Some things will be barely different. Some things will be radically different. It's gonna be its own thing. It won't be exactly like the game. It's the show that they want to make, and I don't think they need to recast Bella Ramsey. He said she was 17 when they started filming season 1. She's 19 now, which is Ellie's age in part 2. Ellie's a lot younger. She's kind of a little bit younger in the game, I guess. In the first one,
you can't really tell.
Yeah, it works. Her playing like a 14-year-old works. But I think you could definitely keep Bella Ramsey.
Yeah, you have to.
You have to.
Well, I mean, definitely. You would lose.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't recast that.
No, unless she doesn't want to do it, which I don't see why she wouldn't. The season left me very geeked and excited for season 2, which is
2025 maybe we'll get
probably. But that's what you want to do with this show. Let's finish it up here with a rating. Anthony, what would you rate it the whole season?
So again, I think I envy those that didn't play the game because I'm sure watching this, you had very similar experiences to me playing the game 10 years ago or whenever it came out. That being said, it's a very well executed adaptation of the game, and I would give it a 9 out of 10.
Nice.
I think the only thing that's missing is I wish, similar to that first episode where like they really incorporated the horror aspect.
Yeah.
The shot where the grandma in the background's twitching and shit. Like I really wanted more of that, and that was the only thing is I wish they would have had the action horror aspect more prominent in this. But overall, all the stuff that you guys have been saying. Positive.
I find this show damn near perfect. Not a lot to criticize. I will also give it a 9. Fucking amazing first season of television. Ruggs, what do you give it?
As an adaptation of a video game, I'd give it a 9. But as a show, I'd probably give it like an 8.
Okay.
So
there you go.
Fair enough. Yeah, we'll have to wait.
And the game is a 10 out of 10 if you haven't played the game.
The game is absolutely a 10. All right, let's do some news from the nation. Find out what the listeners thought of the finale. It's time for news from the nation. It's time for news from the nation.
it stinks. It stinks. It stinks.
I like the pitch on that one. That was very good. Jesse Rodriguez commenting, so for anyone who cares, the girl who voiced Ellie in the Last of Us game and played Ellie's mom was also the little girl in Lionheart, one of the best Jean-Claude Van Damme movies ever.
Oh, no kidding.
Ashley Johnson was also in The Avengers, and then I remember her from fucking Growing Pains.
Yeah, she was the added kid.
But then they added Leo DiCaprio too. She came after Leo. Leo came first, and then
Leo was like a grown-up kid,
right?
and
then
she
the
was
mom
like
was pregnant.
The new baby.
Yes,
yeah.
And then she grew up, and it was Ashley Johnson. So I always remember her from going. She was the Seaver. What was her name? I can't even remember what her name was. She was one of the Seavers.
That's right.
Jose Ibarra comments: HBO, where no birth scene is safe. The look in Pedro Pascal's eyes when he went full Joel Wick with some top-notch acting, incredible season of television, easily the best live-action video game adaptation ever.
Probably. Yeah, probably.
Jimmy Graben says, phenomenal. Imran, I actually did what you did and was also following along with the game on YouTube, LOL. Love the loyalty to the game while also mixing in some new twists. Can't wait to see what they do with part 2. Yeah, that was fun. Watching the gameplay and then watching the show, that was actually a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. And then Jose Ibarra checks back in. He has a quick review of Scream 6 that came out. Did pretty good numbers, I think, open to a franchise high. And Jose is a big horror guy. He says, as a huge fan of slasher films, in my opinion, this film solidifies Scream as the best slasher series from top to bottom. 6 films in, and this may be the best one since the original. What a fun experience that pays homage to all the previous films, along with others from the genre. Okay. That sounds good. I might watch it eventually. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, horror's not my bag, but the Scream franchise has been one of the only horror franchises I can remember that doesn't have anything that where you put it on and like this is just like dog shit.
Right.
Like you can see that with most horror franchises, apparently they get to a point where you throw on a movie, and some people like still like it, but most people be like, "This is just terrible, like, legitimately awful movie."
Yeah, I'm curious because I think that one of the things that's great about Scream is like there's an air of mystery, like who is Ghostface,
who done it.
Yeah. So the fact that there's a little bit of an element of mystery to who is behind the murders, it's a little Scooby-Doo-ish, and that makes it fun. So you have like both things happening at the same time. You have a mysterious factor and you have like the horror slasher thing going at the same time. So I could see why it's still relevant. So
well, then and they do a lot of the meta commentary from what I've understood. They comment on what's going on in the movie world.
I love their logo. It's really clever. The M becomes the VI of 6. I was like, holy shit, that's amazing. Scream 6, apparently better than 65 on Rotten Tomatoes currently. Scream 6 sitting at 76%. 65 got a 38%. Not even a 65 it could make.
Oh, 65 million years ago?
Yeah, that's the Adam Driver dinosaur movie. 65 is sitting at 38% tomato meter. So
I watched one review of that and heard it. Yeah, it's not good.
That's unfortunate because it looked like it could have been a fun movie. But
Right.
I'll check that out on streaming. Okay, speaking of watching things, let's finish with what are we watching? Has everyone caught up to The Mandalorian season 2, episode 2?
Yes.
Season 3?
I have not watched it, actually.
Oh, you have not
Oh, you
watched it?
haven't?
You son of a bitch.
No, but you guys can talk about it. I have no. I'm not excited either way. I'm just watching it because you guys make me watch it.
I feel like even if we spoil the whole thing, it's not going to affect his viewing at
it's
all.
going to go in
All
one ear and out
Yes,
the other.
yes.
To be honest,
I thought it was a really good episode. It was longer, and some crazy shit happened real quickly. He gets the fucking Mandalore. He doesn't need he takes R5, the droid that's been there since A New Hope. That droid was in the original Star Wars movie. And fucking Grogu has to save his ass, which that was a great scene. And he goes in the water and gets pulled under, and Bo-Katan is badass. Oh, spoilers, whatever.
Spoiler.
Bo-Katan does some badass shit in this episode. But the biggest thing, Ruggs, I think, was what happens at the end there.
We see a giant kaiju that's supposed to be
underwater.
It's supposed to be a symbol of the Mandalorian.
The mythosaur, the beast that
what a
they
shitty
defeated.
name. What a fucking dumb name.
But you notice there's Easter eggs of this everywhere in the mythosaur. Yes, it doesn't. It's a giant.
what's worse, the mythosaur or unobtainium in Avatar?
I know.
That's
There's
close.
like
That's close.
the mystical dinosaur called the mythosaur.
What was the thing in Avatar 2? Then they just
so
changed it up
shitty.
to something else.
I forgot.
Like, it would be great if Bo-Katan was like, yeah, some asshole called it the mythosaur,
Yeah.
but it's really called this.
No, it's
more-
stuck.
right.
But it's
the
this,
Mandalorian name is this.
all you see is like his head, his eye, and part of this giant tusk. We have seen images of this tusk thing in the armor's cave. There was a helmet with tusks. That's based on the mythosaur. They have symbols on them that look like the mythosaur. But this is the thing that like that used to rule Mandalore thousands of years ago or something, and they thought it was dead, but he's still alive. That was pretty crazy.
Right. Yeah, I thought that was cool. I'm curious to see what this is going to bring. Like, I'm all down for seeing Mandalore and seeing how it's this like hollowed out fucking city that's kind of like been lied about. Like you can breathe on it. You can
Right.
go there.
That's what
there
he
is
finds
shit
out.
living there.
Yeah, it's breathable.
So I think that's a game changer, and that's interesting. So, yeah, I'm excited to see what happens.
Dude,
what is this fucking mythosaur going to do?
What did you think of that fucking cyborg fucking robot thing that was living down there? And she fucking fights him with
That
the
was
dark
badass,
sabers. That was
too.
amazing. That was so great. A new creature.
I mean, I
great
hate
design.
I hate that fucking Din Djarin is such a. He gets his ass kicked and he has to get saved by everyone all the time.
Well, he still doesn't know how to use the goddamn dark saber.
Sucks.
He can't lift it up. But then
Come on.
Bo-Katan, badass, just comes in, picks up that dark saber, and just fucking.
Like as much as I
Like-
love this series, I can't stand this whole fucking religion when you wear your helmet all the time. and that doesn't make any sense. It's stupid. I can't believe that he believes in this shit because he's already seen like the world is a bigger place and that people have been lying to him. And he's got the Mandalore. He's bathed in the fucking shit.
He should be redeemed. He's back.
Yeah, you should be able to you should fuck Bo-Katan right there and then make Mandalorian babies.
Katie Sackhoff is hot though. Bo-Katan.
And you know what? It's a shame if we don't get Costas Mandalore to be in the show. What the fuck is he doing? He should be in the show.
Was that the Greek Mandalore? Who's that?
Yeah, no, Costas Mandalore is an actor.
I thought I went to high school with that kid.
He's an actor from like soap operas.
Oh,
yeah,
that's
he's
the dude's
in movies.
name. Costas Mandalore. Wow.
Yeah, he should be Tar Vizsla.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think that's a huge opportunity.
Huge miss, yeah.
Every time I hear the word Mandalore, I just think about Costas Mandalore.
Anyways, great episode. Next week's episode reporting runtime 56 minutes. It's going to be almost an hour, which is crazy for episode 3. The show started like 30 minutes.
Oh wow, almost double the size.
Double the size, double the Mandalore.
Yeah. Twice the Mandalore.
Baby Yoda with the save was also great. Like he fucking took off in his little bubble. God help.
Is he starting to say words?
I don't know. It almost sounds like it. He's starting to babble or something. Seeing Peli Motto was also great. Amy Sedaris and Tatooine. She's always funny.
Look, I'm curious. Like, look, the whole thing about this show is not what happens. It's all about the lore.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
What am I going to learn about Star Wars? Is it going to be cool or is it going to be stupid? I don't know. We'll see.
There was some good lore shit in here, so they're building on it.
Yeah. The Mythosaur is a terrible name. Come on, Fabs. Fix that shit. The laziest name I can ever think of.
Anthony, you watch anything worth mentioning?
No.
Okay. Ruggs, you got anything?
All right. Well, I watched the rest of Tar. I brought it up last week, I think. The movie is also one of those other movies that doesn't have an ending quite. Tar is a story of a woman composer. You follow her throughout her like moment in her career where like she's under fire for like some controversy that she's in, and she starts to kind of like lose control of her life and the people in her life because she just kind of is being careless, and the movie kind of just like ends after like kind of her downfall, and it just like ends. So it was a kind of a weird ending, but I'll say this: it was very beautifully shot and very well directed, and the sound editing was good, and the acting was good. But I don't think I would hold this up to like. It's definitely a movie for cinematography and looking at direction and editing and acting, but I don't know if that all solidifies into a good movie. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like you have this great direction, you have this great acting, but the story is kind of, maybe it's too layered for me and I have to watch it again, but like I felt myself being like, okay, I know where this is going, and nothing's really like unfolding in a way that's surprising or interesting or gripping to me. It's like I know where this is heading. I turn on the news every day and hear shit like this all the time.
It's very today though, right? Very topical.
Yeah.
6 Oscar nominations, didn't win shit, unfortunately. Okay. What else you see?
I watched Megan, the horror movie.
Yeah, how is that?
Well, it's funny because I watched Megan and I watched AI, which is the old movie from 2001 by Steven Spielberg.
Why'd you watch? You never seen that before? Why are you watching that?
No,
now?
I just watched it because I heard that Stanley Kubrick was involved with that.
Yeah,
and I was like, oh shit,
making it, and Spielberg finishes it, I believe.
Yeah, well, yeah, he was in production and he never actually filmed it, and then so Spielberg took it and made it, and I didn't realize that Kubrick had anything to do with it.
I like that movie. I like AI. It's a good movie.
And I was like, let me watch it again because now AI is this big thing, and I always remember that movie being fucking weird.
Yeah.
And so I watched Megan and I watched AI, and they're both like, Megan's a story of a girl. It's almost like the reverse. Megan is a story that was definitely inspired by AI, like story of a girl who lost her parents, and they give her a friend like her aunt is a toy maker or whatever, and she has this project where she's trying to create this doll, this living doll, and gives it to her and is basically testing this doll to see if it is sentient or can be a good friend or whatever. And then it imprints on her and basically now is protecting her from any kind of danger or anything that she perceives to be a threat. And then things go haywire. It was an okay movie, you know. It was fun. It wasn't a great movie though. It was just all right.
Okay.
It was just like you can watch it, enjoy it. It doesn't really ascend to greatness, but it's definitely done well and it's entertaining and
it's a good time.
Yeah. AI though is such a crazy because I had just watched Pinocchio.
Yeah.
Both of them. I watched the remake and the Del Toro one.
There was 3 Pinocchio movies that came out last year, by the way. Do you realize?
Oh, really?
This? Yes.
Another one?
There was a Zemeckis one, a Disney one, and a Guillermo del Toro one, I believe. I don't know why all of a sudden everybody's making Pinocchio movies, but they did.
And yeah. And AI is essentially a Pinocchio movie.
Yeah. Except you got Jude Law as a sex robot. It's great.
Yeah. And that's like part of his Jiminy Cricket is. But like it's fucking depressing ass movie. But this one is like the opposite. It's like the parents have a son that's like in cryo sleep because he's ill and he's basically dead to them.
Right.
He's been in this and so the mother's like in pain and whatever. And so this guy who's creating this artificial boy, he's like, this is the perfect set of parents to like
try this
test
out.
this.
Yeah. Wow.
And so, she gets attached to this boy. And then all of a sudden the son, all of a sudden is better.
Now the boy,
gets out of Claire's.
Android boy is disposable now.
Yeah. So now the Android boy is disposable and the kid doesn't like it and he fucks with it.
Yeah.
And then it leads to now like the parents have to the mom has to get rid of him. And basically drops him off in the middle of nowhere.
And like
says,
it's a
all
dog
right.
or something, right? Like it's a pet. They do, and the end of that movie is also kind of crazy the way it ends.
Oh, I love that too. That ending is such a horrible ending and a great ending. It's so depressing.
Yeah,
but so he traverses the world seeking out. He thinks because his mom used to read him Pinocchio when he was a kid,
right?
That if he could find a blue fairy, he'll be a real boy. So he's believes. So this robot starts to believe in this thing that can't happen. And that's like the first thing that makes him kind of human.
Isn't there like a circus too? Isn't there like a droid circus or something?
There's like a bunch of people who take robots and beat the shit out of them for fun.
Right.
And it's like
it's like Westworld a little bit of all these things. It's a really good movie. I always liked it.
Yeah. So it's definitely a misunderstood fucking weird ass movie that you wouldn't expect from Spielberg. But then the reason why is because it's a Kubrick film.
Yeah. Yep.
So it was an interesting rewatch after watching Megan and after seeing all these Pinocchios this year. And it's one of those movies that it's about your life existing. We're on that precipice of AI right now. It's learning right now how to be more and more human every day. And I think that Kurzweil said the singularity is supposed to happen before 2030.
Oh, 2030.
Or right before that. But I think it's going to accelerate faster than that. I think it's going to be before 2026.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
I welcome our robot overlords. I will do your bidding. No problem.
Right.
All right, good stuff. Yeah, both want to check out Megan. Out this week. Next week we will be reviewing, guys, Shazam. Fury of the Gods coming out March 17th, but really the Thursday before. There are 2 post-credit scenes. I don't know why if they're trying to set something up, there's 2 post-credit scenes. Say that again. Shazam. I don't know. I'm not really excited. I don't know. Hopefully this thing I can go in with low expectations and have a good time. So watch that. We'll review it next week. And then if you're a Ted Lasso fan, that comes back this week. Season 3.
Oh,
love the Ted.
I like Ted Lasso.
I like the Ted Lasso. So, okay. That's it for this week. Rugs, where can the people find you online?
Really Rug Boy on Twitter.
link to all that stuff on our website in the show notes, how you can support the show, how you can get in touch with us, send us a message, an email, a voicemail, whatever. Most importantly, share the show with your friends. Thank you for listening to the Jock and Nerd podcast. My name is Imran.
My name's Anthony.
He's the Jock.
He's the nerd.
We'll beep you next time.
Yeah, bring us up in polite conversation.
Absolutely.
Like,
Jock and Nerd.
you know what? I heard on the Jock and Nerd podcast
Fuck that show.
No, don't say that.
that if you haven't dreamed about your teeth falling out, it means a family member will die.
My balls was hot. Jock and Nerd.